Welcome back to today's video. In today's video, we're going to be looking at Biden and Trump's easiest path to 270 electoral votes. Now, as we get into today's video, guys, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you like the video and share the video to others. It really helps out to reach 300 subscribers, which is our goal relatively soon. And we reached 200 subscribers recently, and it really helps out if you subscribe. Every subscriber definitely helps out. So as we get into today's video, we're going to be looking at Biden and Trump and the path that each of them have to 270 electoral votes. So taking a look at this here, let's take a look at some polls here in the general election. So we can see here that based off of polls in the general election, we can see that Trump is around 1 point ahead of Joe Biden on the general election, according to Real Clear Politic average. Now, he was ahead of Joe Biden by bigger margins in December, late December, mid-December, but he has now gone down to 1 point ahead of Joe Biden. So we can see that he is now 1 point ahead of Joe Biden. Although let's take a look at individual states. So in individual states, start with the state of Michigan. We can see that in Michigan, on average, Trump is 5.3 points ahead of President Biden. So he is 5.3 points ahead, 5.3% points ahead of President Biden, and he is 5.3 points ahead. In Wisconsin, we can see that Trump is neck and neck with President Biden. We can see that he's neck and neck. He tied in one of the polls. He was +4. He tied in another poll. And then he was +2 and +2 for President Biden. So we can see that they're tied in the state of Wisconsin. Moving on here to the state of Nevada, we can see that in this particular state, Donald Trump is actually doing relatively good. We can see that on average, he's 5.4%, according to RCP's average. In the state of Arizona, we can see that Trump is also ahead. He's ahead by 4.8%, and he's ahead of President Biden. And in the state of Georgia, we can see that Donald Trump is also ahead by 5.2%. Moving on here to the state of North Carolina, Donald Trump is ahead in a majority of the polls. Biden's ahead in 2 polls by 2 points, although in a majority of the polls, Trump does seem to be in the lead. So what can we see by a majority of these polls? Well, we can see a common theme, and that is that Donald Trump is leading in a majority of the swing states. And that has been happening consistently for quite some time, ever since about September, October, November. We've been seeing that Trump's momentum has picked up, and he is now ahead of Joe Biden by small margins, although he is still ahead. So with all this data in mind, what is Donald Trump's easiest path to 270 electoral votes? First of all, let's go ahead by starting to fill out some of the safe states. Then we will go on and fill out some of the other states that are extremely important for the 2024 race. I believe that the 2024 race will really come down to maybe 7, or some people say 9 states, but I'm going to go with 7. 7 key states. And I've said this consistently throughout this channel, that there are 7 key states that will determine the results of the 2024 election. That is Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Those are the key states. Now, I know some individuals try to put Texas on the map. Some people put Minnesota on the map. Some people say that Democrats could win in states like Texas. Republicans could end up winning in states like Virginia. Main key states are your 7: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina. Those are your key states that everybody at this point has got to understand. Those are the states that you want to be looking at for the 2024 race. Now, we could get into the debate. Could Biden win in Texas? Could Trump win in Virginia? We could get into that debate. But the key states are your main key 7, your Rust Belt, and your Sun Belt. Those are your key states. So we're going to go ahead and give Texas and Florida as being likely for former President Donald Trump. We're going to go ahead and give South Carolina as being safe. And we'll also go ahead and give the state of Nebraska as being safe, at least 3 of the congressional districts, amounting up to 4 electoral votes. And for President Biden, we will give him at least 2 congressional districts within the state of Maine. Moving on here, we're going to go ahead and give from Joe Biden here, we're going to go ahead and give him the state of Colorado by a safe margin. And we'll also go ahead and give him the state of New Mexico by a safe margin. In the state of Utah, Donald Trump will win. And in the state of Alaska, Donald Trump will win by a likely margin. Moving on here, we're going to go ahead and look at the state of Ohio. Donald Trump will win in the state by a likely margin. The reason why is because of the recent abortion ruling that did occur. And in the state of Iowa, where the voters said that they would put abortion restrictions. And that state will obviously vote for the former president. Moving on here, let's go ahead and give Biden the state of New York, Democratic strongholds for many years, continually there, the state of Virginia, in the state of New Hampshire. We're going to go ahead and give this state as being likely for the President Biden. And moving on here, let's go ahead and give the state of Minnesota and the state of Virginia as being lean for President Biden. So those are your key states. Now, I did say that there were 7 states along with 2 congressional districts. That is Nebraska's 2nd congressional district and Maine's 2nd congressional district as well. Those districts are going to be extremely important. Now, why may they be important? Well, there's a couple reasons why. This is the reason why these districts will be important. Because here's the thing. Let's say Trump does this. He gets Wisconsin, okay? He gets Georgia, and then he gets Pennsylvania. He gets Georgia, Pennsylvania. Let's go ahead and give him North Carolina, and we'll take out Wisconsin. Okay, if we take out Wisconsin, and again, this is a hypothetical. Okay, let's say he wins Georgia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. He would need at least 1 congressional district. Now, that being said, you have the House of Representatives, which is controlled by Republicans. And even if Republicans lose in the 2024 midterms against the Democrats, they'll still maintain control of Congress, I believe, for quite some time. So I do think that they're gonna win. They're gonna win the House by a slim margin. But anyways, House will most likely be controlled by Republicans, which will lead to Republicans most likely winning. But even then, you'd have to take one of the congressional districts in the state of Nebraska or one of the congressional districts in the state of Maine to guarantee a victory for the former president. And you can do obviously similar types of connections with President Biden. Now, do I think that this exact matchup is going to happen? Probably not. Okay, probably not this exact matchup, but it is something just to keep in mind as a possibility, a theoretical that you just want to keep in mind. But just moving on here, let's go ahead and give the actual states that Trump will most likely win for the easiest path to 270. Now, this is not the actual map. This is the easiest path for him to get to that bare minimum threshold. The bare minimum threshold, okay, would be the following states. Georgia. Georgia will be a state which I believe that former President Donald Trump will win. The reason why is because of the fact that he lost his state by an extremely, extremely small margin. Looking at polling data now, he's ahead of President Biden by around the same margin that he actually won against Hillary Clinton in 2016. He is ahead by 5.2%. That's an extremely large margin. In fact, he's ahead he's ahead in basically every single poll, according to the RCP average here. And you can look at this array of polls, we can see that Biden here is only ahead in 2 polls by 1 point and then followed up by 4 points. But Donald Trump is ahead in all the other polls, which is meaning that he will most likely win in this particular state, which Biden won in 2020. So we're going to go ahead and give him the state of Georgia. Also moving on here, let's go ahead and look at the state of North Carolina. Donald Trump will win in the state of North Carolina. I do believe that he will win in the state of North Carolina. He won in the state by a 1.3% margin in the 2020 election. So by margin, he's ahead in most of the polling data. He's ahead in Emerson, and he's ahead in Emerson in this poll right over here. He's behind in some polls right over. He's behind by 2 points, and then behind by 2 points right in this poll over here. So there are some polls where he's behind, but overall he's doing relatively good. So we're gonna go ahead and give him the state of North Carolina. So the state of North Carolina there. Moving on here, we're gonna go ahead and give him the state of Wisconsin. I think that he's gonna win in this state. Now, you might be wondering, according to all the polls from all the swing states, the state which Donald Trump is not leading at all, is the state of Wisconsin. Okay? So you might be wondering, why don't I give Trump the state of, let's say, I don't know, Michigan, where Trump is leading by 5.3%? Well, the reason why is because of the fact that Michigan is more liberal than other states. It's more liberal, generally speaking, more liberal compared to other states in the Rust Belt. Because of that, I find it really hard to believe that Trump could win in Michigan, but then not win in Wisconsin. I find it really hard. It's just me. I find it extremely hard. Even if you go back to polling data, okay, let me give you a good reason for why I think that Trump winning in Michigan but not winning in Wisconsin would be really weird. If Trump wins in Wisconsin but doesn't win in Michigan, I wouldn't be surprised. But if for Trump to win in Michigan and not win in Wisconsin, I would be really surprised. Here's the reason why, okay? In the lead up to the 2020 election, Biden was leading in the polls in Wisconsin, okay? More than he was leading in the polls in Michigan. But in the actual results of the 2020 election, we saw that Biden won in the state of Michigan by a greater margin than he won in the state of Wisconsin. So that means the polls were exactly the opposite. Also, you have to consider this. Trump won in the state of all the swing states, Trump lost in the state of Michigan by the largest margin, 2.4%. Trump also won in the state of Michigan in 2016 by an extremely small margin. I believe it was under 0.5%. And Barack Obama won in the state of Michigan in 2012 by 9.5%. All these factors, when you put them together, do coincide to tell me that Wisconsin will most likely vote for Donald Trump. Now, I know Barack Obama winning by 9.5% in 2012 probably is not the greatest piece of evidence, but anyways, you get the idea. All the data combined. So Wisconsin, there, 10 electoral votes for former President Donald Trump. Moving on here, let's go ahead and give Donald Trump one or two more states here. We're going to go ahead and give him the state. Again, this is the easiest path for him to reach 270 electoral votes, and that is your state of Nevada. So Nevada, we're going to go ahead and give him the state of Nevada by a tilt margin. So tilt margin, that's 266 electoral votes. And then we're going to follow that up by giving him the state of Arizona. So the state of Arizona, they're voting for former President Donald Trump there by a relatively small margin, most likely, but that will be the state of Arizona. Now, you could debate Pennsylvania, possibly. He's leading in Arizona by bigger margins than he did before. So he's leading by around 4.8% in the state of Arizona. You could argue for Pennsylvania being more likely than Arizona, but we'll keep it at that. We'll keep it at that for now. Okay, so that's for those states there. So we have Trump, 277 electoral votes. He could end up losing in the state of Nevada, but I think that he's going to win in Nevada. So we can see Nevada, he's probably going to win in, most likely. You could go ahead and put that as being a toss up, but I'll just add that in. Nevada, it's an interesting state. Trump lost by around 2.5%, around that margin, in both 2016 and 2020. He seems to be doing good in the polls. I am cautious, but I think that he has a better chance of winning in there than Michigan or Pennsylvania. Michigan and Pennsylvania definitely has a bigger chance of winning. Just for the sake of clarity, I'm just going to take it off of being a toss-up, just so that way, easiest path, this is the path. Okay, this is the easiest path. I want to be very specific, the easiest path, right? So we're not going to put in any extra states, the easiest path. But I do believe that he's going to win in Nevada. But this is the easiest path for him. 271 electoral votes. Okay, this is the bare minimum. So that's what you have there. Now let's go ahead and look at President Biden. So President Biden, let's see what he has to look at here. So he has a very hard uphill battle. Okay, uphill battle. In fact, recently, so according to CNN, so CNN released a new Road to 270 map. The Road to 270 map, and we can just take a look here at this article here from CNN, and it shows here that CNN's inaugural map shows that Trump is in a position to win the White House in the 2024 election. Now, that is an extremely interesting development. Now, the reason why that's a very interesting development is because of the fact that this is, I believe, the first time that CNN has given the election to Donald Trump. But this is the first time in quite a while that the former president has actually been able to win in a majority of the states, excluding toss-up states. So the states that are in yellow are actually the states that are toss-up, that are swing states, basically. But the states that are in red are not so much of swing states. You could consider them as being swing states, although that would be that would be kind of interesting to see it like that. Although I think that CNN is pretty clear on that. So yeah, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. Those are your swing states. So Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. I don't know why they're putting Florida and Michigan in the same column. I feel like that's really weird. I think Florida is much more conservative than Michigan, which is really weird. But even CNN is saying that for the first time, and I don't think they've ever said this in quite a while. I don't think they've ever said this since 2015 even. I don't think they've said this in a long time. So that's an interesting development. Okay, that's a very interesting development. So Joe Biden has an uphill battle, is my point. Okay, so how many electoral votes does he have locked in? Well, he has 225 electoral votes locked in. You can debate Minnesota and Virginia. That's not the point. Okay, 225 electoral votes locked up. How many electoral votes does he need to win to get the presidency again? Well, he would need to win 45 electoral votes. Now, how do you get 45 electoral votes? Well, you take them from a couple of states. Let's go ahead and give President Biden the state of Michigan. We're going to go ahead and give him the state of Michigan. So give him that state by a tilt margin. 15 electoral votes, extremely critical for President Biden in the lead up to the 2024 election. So 15 electoral votes, that'll put him at 240 electoral votes. I believe that that's the same number of electoral votes that Gerald Ford had when he was going against Jimmy Carter. So that's an interesting phenomenon to note. But he has 15 electoral votes there from the state of Michigan. What's the next state that he could win? This is a very interesting question. Let's go ahead and give him Pennsylvania. We'll go ahead and give him Pennsylvania. Easiest path to 270. And then we'll go ahead and give him the state of Arizona. Okay, Arizona. So Arizona there. So Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. This is the easiest path, bare minimum, right? Bare minimum to get to 270. I have doubts over Nebraska, the Omaha region. Omaha region might bring it home for Biden, but it depends. And in Maine, he might be able to win in the state of Maine, so that might also help him out a little bit. But anyways, easiest path to 270: Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Arizona. That would be an interesting combination. That would be a very interesting combination. Now, why am I excluding Nevada? Well, I think Biden's gonna do relatively good in Nevada. Okay, sorry, I think Trump's gonna do relatively good in Nevada. Also, if I gave him the state of Nevada, that wouldn't really make any sense since I'm considering the easiest path to get him to that bare minimum, and those would be the states which I would give him. So, anyways, this is Biden's easiest path to 270. The easiest path for President Biden. Trump is obviously taking several other swing states, which I have listed there. But anyways, guys, that is my final prediction. For Biden and Trump, what are their individual easiest paths to 270? What are their easiest paths to getting to this race? Now, a couple of updates that I want to give you guys moving forward. So we had the Iowa caucus, which is coming up relatively soon. It's coming up in 3 days. So 3 days is coming up. And I might post this video. I'm making this video as of January 12th, 2024. And I'm probably going to post this video on January 13 or January 12, 2024. So it depends. Now, I am going to post my final election prediction for the Iowa caucus coming up. So the final prediction for the Iowa caucus. That's going to be a very interesting prediction. I'm going to put out my final prediction. Now, what do we know so far? Well, we know so far that interesting developments have occurred. And that is the fact that Nikki Haley is leading DeSantis by 1.2%, according to 538's aggregate. She's leading DeSantis. Vivek Ramaswamy is at 6.6%, followed by Asa Hutchinson. Okay, Asa Hutchinson. Let me put this back. All right. Asa Hutchinson at 0.4%. Haley is beating DeSantis. Now, what interesting development has occurred? Well, the interesting development which has occurred is that Chris Christie has dropped out. That is a very interesting development. Why? Because Chris Christie was basically getting no votes in the Iowa primary. How much percent of the vote did he get? Okay, he got 3. Last time we had him on. Let's see. The last time around 3.5%. Okay, around 3.5% if you round to the nearest half half number, 3.5%. Now, what happened? Well, some of Chris Christie's supporters, I do believe, went over. So, I mean, Haley was on the verge. Okay, so she was basically, look, this is the poll on January 10, 2024. Nikki was at 16.8. DeSantis was at 17.2. Chris Christie was at 3.4. Then you move over to January 11th. On January 11th, the day after, Nikki Haley surpassed Ron DeSantis by gaining 0.3%. And DeSantis went down a little bit. So that's a very interesting thing to know. Now, I mean, is that such a big deal? Not really. Okay. Now, Chris Christie. Okay. So you have several arguments that you can make for Chris Christie. First of all, he had about 3.5% of the vote. 3.5% of the vote is not a lot. So where did his voters go? Okay. Well, there's a lot of speculations going around. Okay. So DeSantis. Okay. Chris Christie definitely his supporters do not go to Trump. Okay. Let's just get this down. Chris Christie supporters did not go to Trump. Chris Christie supporters did not go to Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, Chris Christie supporters may have gone to Hutchinson. Now, like Hutchinson actually went down after Chris Christie dropped out. I think he went down or up. He didn't. Nothing really happened for Hutchinson. Okay, I don't know who's gonna vote for Hutchinson. Maybe Chris Christie supporters might vote for Asa Hutchinson. It's gonna be a pretty worthless vote because Asa Hutchinson is like 0.5%. Okay, Asa Hutchinson, for like something really miraculous to happen for Asa Hutchinson. Like I would be surprised if he gets like 2% of the vote. Like if he were to get 2% of the vote, that would be like the best thing for Asa Hutchinson, which just goes to show how far behind he is. So basically, Chris Christie supporters could have gone in two directions, a couple directions. Okay, definitely not Trump, definitely not Vivek Ramaswamy, maybe Asa Hutchinson. Maybe they're not going to vote, or maybe I don't know. Some people are saying that they might be Democrats. Okay, but you could decide. Haley and DeSantis. It's split between Haley and Ron DeSantis. Who's going to pick up the votes? Most likely, I predict that Haley is going to pick up the votes. It might be by an extremely small margin, but I think Haley's going to pick up the votes. Are Chris Christie supporters not going to go out and vote? Yes, I do believe that. A lot of Chris Christie supporters may have been turned off by the 5 candidates that we have here listed. But I do believe that Haley is definitely going to get. So the choice is, who are Chris Christie voters going to? Are they going to Nikki, or are they going to Ron DeSantis? That is the question. Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis? That is the question. I'll let you guys contemplate that. I don't want to get the video out, the final prediction. I'm going to do a full video into that. I'll have that out. But anyways, guys, this is for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to get, this is for Joe Biden. Sorry, Joe Biden, easiest path to 270. This is his map. Okay. Now for Trump, what is Trump's easiest path? Let me go ahead and reinstall that. Put this again for you. Okay. So Trump's easiest path. I put Biden's easiest path just so that way for any of you guys who are just skipping to the end of the video because you guys don't want to hear me talk throughout the entire video, which makes sense. But if you guys, this is Trump's easiest path. So for those of you guys who just want to watch till the end of the video, which you shouldn't, you should watch the entire video. But if you guys are doing that, this is the prediction for Trump's easiest path, right? Trump's easiest path. And then for Biden's easiest path, I already had that on. Okay. So that would be Trump's easiest path and Biden's easiest path. So anyway, guys, if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe. I do believe this was a bit of a longer video. This video was 23 minutes, and it was a pretty long video. But subscribe and share the video to others, and I'll see you in the next video.